Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's continue our game of Anonymous Code running on Nintendo Switch. The Superintendent General, Secretary General Nomura, and the Superintendent Vice General sat in the office. Sitting on the couch, the Secretary General listened to the Superintendent General's progress report on the TMPD 513 joint mission.
Wait! Lower-ranked officers aren't allowed to...
The office door swung open. The one who barged in without permission was Kaoru Samezu.
Who are you? We're discussing an important matter with Secretary General Nomura.
Wait, you're from the Cybercrimes Division.
Chief Samezu, I apologize for the intrusion, but I want you to put your conversation on hold and look over these documents.
We don't have time for that. Get him out of here!
Right away, sir.
Before the Superintendent General could approach him, Kaoru sent some data to their tablets through his BMI.
These are...
Communication logs?
They're between Secretary General Nomura and the Holy Office 513. As you can see, he used the Holy Office for his own gain.
What?
Oz had acquired most of the documents during his investigation into the Gaia institution. They weren't enough to stop Project Gaia, but they had immense value here.
Doesn't look like these were obtained legally.
I'll take responsibility for that. But first, Mr. Nomura has to be punished. He ordered the assassination of the previous Secretary General. Nomura, you cooperated with the Holy Office to repay them for a personal favor. You've also blackmailed the Superintendent General, yes?
Baseless nonsense.
If the police won't punish you, perhaps society will. What if I leaked this information to the public?
You wouldn't.
Before you try anything, know that you can't make this go away by silencing me. If anything happens to me, these documents go public.
Do you think that anyone will believe this nonsensical forgery? This is absurd.
It's not absurd at all.
What?
This information is worth looking into, even if there's a chance it was acquired through illegitimate channels.
Have you lost your mind? Don't you care about your family?
I was mistaken. I should never have allowed you to blackmail me.
Huh.
Vice General, order all departments to cease cooperation with the Holy Office 513.
Right away.
Secretary General Nomura, you...
Before anyone could apprehend him, Nomura pulled a knife. He gripped the handle with shaking hands
In God's name.
and slit his own neck. He collapsed.
This is just like what happened during the high-hack.
The Vice General and another officer ran over to him in an attempt to stop the bleeding.
He's losing too much blood!
I'll call an ambulance.
Amidst the chaos, Kaoru called his subordinates via BMI.
Our agreement with the Holy Office is dissolved. Return to the quest immediately.
Unbelievable. You defeated 2 agents at once.
Dumbfounded, Momo looked down at the bodies of Davide and Ronin. She couldn't stop blinking. This probably didn't feel real to her.
I couldn't have pulled this off without Rosario.
I simply did as you ordered.
Honestly, I had to keep loading over and over. The Holy Office's computational speed was much faster than I expected. Every time they were done recalculating, Ronin would kill Rosario. This victory was thanks to the countless loads that ended in failure.
Give it back.
Conscious again, Juno stood up slowly, glared at us.
Give me back my carrier node. I need to complete the quest. I'll die if I don't. I'll kill you, and then off myself too.
Juno shrieked as she lunged for my neck. Her expression twisted her face until she looked like a witch from some fairy tale. Before she could do that, I grabbed her arms and stopped her.
Don't worry. I'm fine.
I'll kill you. I'll kill you and kill myself!
Kent Korihisa is dead, isn't he?
Her arm slackened.
What do you mean? You've made it to the coordinates?
You could say that. When I asked if you were Cicada's little sister, you didn't deny it. Kent Korihisa is dead, but he's Cicada too. There's something going on behind the scenes, right?
Juno didn't respond. Her silence was the answer I needed.
All right. If Cicada wants a highly intelligent individual, he's gonna get one.
Juno walked away from me and dropped to the ground.
And look at me, dear brother. Acknowledge me. The #1 spot is safe with me. I'll prove myself worthy of your attention, of your recognition. And when you look at me and acknowledge me, I'll kill myself right before your eyes. That way, I'll stay in your mind forever. We'll never be apart again. Kent, please. I love you. I love you so much. From the bottom of my heart.
Her eyes dulled as she curled up into a fetal position. We sussed out her teleportation trick, grabbed her carry note, and learned about Kent's death. Anyone would give up after that.
Pollon, that can't be true, can it? Kent Korihisa must be alive.
No. You were the ones who told me you saw a dead body. But you also said you didn't know if it was really him. But after seeing Juno's reaction, I know that chasing Cicada down is the right thing to do. That's why everything's gonna work out. Trust me.
She nodded, but without much confidence. It must have been hard for her to keep up with all this. That was when I heard voices at the door. A familiar and colorful trio were there.
Pollon, how's the quest going?
Oh, it's the Cyberforce dolls.
I ran up to them and looked into their eyes.
Hey, you're kinda close there. I know legal boundaries mean nothing to you, but have some respect for physical ones, okay?
I just wanted to check if you were okay. You had to work with the Holy Office, didn't you? You alright?
We were cooperating with them,
So...
but now we're totally clean. Jeez, I was embarrassed to be a police officer working with those sickos.
Oh, I'm real glad to hear that.
Oz and Mr. Semizu must have worked hard to get that agreement voided.
I'm surprised you care so much.
Of course I care. You saved my life.
Excuse me? What are you talking about?
I should have thanked her before I loaded. It was too late for that now, though, so...
I'll never forget what you did for me. Seriously.
Okay. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but it's an officer's job to keep people smiling. If you ever need help, I'll be there for you.
Bombi puffed out her chest.
Oh, but only when it's legal.
Yeah, I know.
Hold on. I've tuned the visualization app. How are things over there?
We took care of Juno and the agents, and we have the 4 people we need. We're about to go to the helipad. Wind, how's it going on your end?
Sorry, this is gonna take a while longer, but I'll make it in time, I promise.
We can complete the quest if we go to the helipad?
Yeah, we have a plan.
The elevator isn't working, so we'll have to go up to the 50th floor on foot. The countdown ends in 24 minutes. Will we make it?
We should just... Wait, will we?
Our plan was going to start at midnight on the dot when the hour and minute hands touched. That meant we only had 19 minutes to get into our positions. And since we'd have to sneak onto the helipad too, we probably didn't even have that long.
Oh, hey! Why don't you use bikes?
jumping from the top of a neighboring building onto the egg tower. That was what Bombi meant when she suggested we use bikes. Even if we didn't make it onto the 50th floor at the top, we could still save walking time if we landed on one of the higher floors.
That idea's crazy! What kind of cop are you?
One who trusts Iroha's skills. And you look like you're good on a graper too. Unless, what, you don't think you'll stick the landing?
Oh, I'll stick it. I'll show you what I can do.
We did donuts on the rooftops, gradually building speed. The distance from here to Egg Tower was about 30 meters. We wouldn't make the jump if we weren't going fast enough. I focused on accelerating, and then...
You ready?
Yeah!
Hold on tight!
Once I broke 100 kilometers an hour, I quit making circles and went for the jump. I sped towards the makeshift ramp we'd made from metal sheets, accelerating harder as I got closer. It was 50 meters to the ramp, but I closed the distance in a moment. And we were launched into the air. We pierced the cold dark of the evening. I felt myself breaking through the dense wall of air. This must have been what it was like to be a stuntman. Riding a graper nearly 100 meters above ground felt so unreal that I couldn't believe there weren't any cameras around. We slowly began to lose speed. Then I felt like we were floating. I could feel my stomach rising.
Bombi, now!
I felt her raising her gun behind me. She aimed right ahead of us.
Come on! Hit!
One of the egg tower's big glass windows shattered. A moment later, my graper was inside the building. I hit the brakes the moment we landed. We skidded across the floor, leaving thick tire tracks behind us.
Stop!
A giant pillar in front was getting real close, real fast. But I brought the graper to a stop right as the front wheel touched it.
That was easy.
Yeah, it was nothing.
As we climbed off the graper, Iroha and Riko sailed in through the same window we'd come through. Their landing was a lot more graceful.
Sorry for the wait.
Her expression was as relaxed as ever. It was like the possibility of failure had never crossed her mind.
Dude!
She must have been used to pulling off crazy stunts like this. Anyway, now that we made it to the 31st floor of the egg tower, we could finish our climb to the helipad on foot. Oh, poor Wind.
You can do it, Windy!
Yeah.
Wind had made it to the 25th floor and turned on the analog clock. His next task was removing the rebel, which meant climbing an outside ladder. On his belt was a small electric camera he'd bought at an electronics store right before closing time. He needed a tool for the job. Strong winds blowing from the Shinjuku crater battered him.
Come on! Why'd the wind have to pick up now? I'm no good with this kind of thing!
He clung to the ladder and waited for the air to calm.
All right.
He continued his climb when it seemed safe. But the moment he did, the rung he stepped on shattered and his body swung sideways. He kept himself from falling. But the electric hammer on his belt detached and fell to the bottom of the ladder. There were 7 minutes left until the plan began. Wind clambered back down to retrieve his hammer. Using the debris-laden emergency stairwell, we somehow made it to the top. The door to the helipad hung wide open, and a cold wind was blowing in from outside. We couldn't see any of the victims from here, though. We had 4 minutes before it was time to put our plan into action. I told them all about Operation Analog on the way, but since we had the time, I figured I'd run it by them again.
All right, let's go through this one last time.
Okay.
First, Bombi, Riko, and I will head onto the helipad with our BMI off so the perp doesn't realize we're there.
Nice of you to volunteer us for this part.
The plan starts the moment the hands on the MTT building's clock line up at exactly midnight.
And that's when I should turn on my BMI, right?
Yeah, you'll join the Li-Fi network and get infected with the pool hack virus. Once you've done that...
I can use the Argos app to pinpoint the perpetrator, since I have a wired connection with Bombi.
And when you figure out who it is, you'll shout the perp's number. Did you memorize your half, Pollon?
Yeah, somehow.
We couldn't figure out who the perp was just by looking, so we assigned numbers to everyone on the helipad. I couldn't remember all the numbers myself, so I split them with Riku. I remember the numbers of the 27 people on the left side of the helipad, and she got the rest.
Alright, take this sealing device.
Bombi handed me something that looked like an earmuff.
When you put this over an ear with a carry node attached, it forces the person's BMI to shut down. Once someone has it on, they can't take it off either. So there's no way they'll be able to restart the pool hack.
The CCO's got a new toy, huh?
Using this will be easier than grabbing the perp's carry node, so it should work out okay.
Yeah, it'll help. I owe ya. How's it going, Wind? Wind?
I called him using BMI, but he didn't respond. Did something happen?
There's no time. Let's start the plan.
Yeah, alright.
For now, all I could do was trust Wind and go through with Operation Analog. I'd have to deal with any hiccups when they happened. I turned off my BMI and stepped onto the helipad with Bombi and Rico. The helipad looked just like it had on the news. 56 victims standing around, absentmindedly looking towards the Shinjuku crater. Even from the side, I could tell their faces were blank and they weren't actually seeing anything. The three of us crouched, hiding behind the victims so the perp wouldn't see us. We looked across at the MTT building through their legs. The analog clock was working. The hour and minute hands began moving to the correct position, and stopped at 23:59. We actually did it. I couldn't see Bombi or Rico from here, but they must have noticed it too. In silence, we watched as the clock's hands met. That was when
17.
I heard a voice coming from the other side of the open door, outside Li-Fi range. That was one of my numbers. 17 was standing on the outer side of the crowd, near the edge of the helipad. I looked to his position and saw a man looking around, startled by the sound of Iroha's voice. That had to be him. Zigzagging between the victims, I dashed towards him as fast as I could. His carry node was on his right ear. I took out the sealing device and slapped it onto his ear.
Shit! What is this?
I noticed light returning to people's eyes. Bombi, who was standing at the back, started blinking too. She looked at me.
We did it!
Awesome!
We stopped the pool hack.
You motherfucker!
The perp glared at me and punched me square in the jaw. I staggered backwards. I found my footing after a few steps, but I'd run out of room to stand. There was no way. The words wouldn't come. One of my feet had already slipped off the edge of the helipad. The other followed right after. I didn't have time to grab onto anything. All I could do was fall.
Huh?
While we waited at the entrance, something impossible happened before us.
Wait. You?
Oh, it's my partner, right? I felt the wind pushing against my back. It was making my clothes flutter. As the helipad got further and further away, I looked for any way to survive this. I reached out hoping to grab onto a piece of rope that might be dangling down like a lifeline. I flailed my legs, hoping they might catch onto a news drone buzzing around. My BMI was flickering back on, but it didn't look like it'd be workable before I hit the ground. Out of all the times not to be able to load. I had no redos, no outs, no takebacks. I was going to die. My thoughts left my mouth as screams. I didn't want to die yet. I couldn't die yet. There were still things I needed to do. Huh? It was Juno. I couldn't believe it. She appeared in front of me suddenly, like she was using her quantum teleportation. But this had to be a hallucination. Momo had Juno's carrier node. And even if Juno had it, there was no way she'd use it to help me. The hallucination kicked off the Egg's tower wall, launching itself down towards me. I felt like I was watching an action film. This was some weird-ass end-of-life vision. Juno held me. She had to be real. Her touch had a human warmth. And the scent of her perfume was so intense I almost choked on it.
Con anima. With soul.
The moment I heard those words, I found myself standing on the surface. My knees were shaking. It was a struggle to stay standing. That was when my BMI finished booting.
Are you okay? Did you fall off the helipad?
Yeah, but Juno helped me.
I saw you fall off on the live broadcast.
Takaoka, you good, bud?
Polly! Are you alive? Hey, Polly! Polly!
Well, we can still contact you, so I guess you're all right.
Yeah, kinda.
Tons more people called to check if I was okay. Apparently a news drone had captured my fall on film.
We got the perp. The victims are unharmed. Besides you falling off the helipad, the plan was a complete success.
That's good to hear.
I calmed myself down by taking a bunch of deep breaths. I'd honestly thought I was gonna die. I sure hadn't expected Juno to save me. A message from Cicada 3301. Ken Korihisa was dead, but this Cicada was still alive. It was time to figure out what was going on with Cicada's identity. I mean, he's obviously a simulation. He's obviously an Earth simulator. I shared my vision with the symphonies and opened the message.
Amadeus?
Huh? That's...
A video recording appeared on my BMI. I hit play.
I am Cicada 3301, an AI operating on an independently modified Amadeus system framework. Kent Korihisa was the name of my original. Pollon Takaoka, I finally found you. For years, I have been on a quest for a person who would meet my criteria. By which I mean either a highly intelligent individual, or someone who has been contacted by a being often referred to as God or Holy Mother. Not spiritual concept, but rather observer.
Observer? Why did he feel the need to specify that?
Holy Mother?
It was Momo who'd been contacted by the Virgin Mary, not me. Did Cicada have us mixed up? Although, God, Holy Mother, Observer? For some reason, hearing those words reminded me of you, Anon.
I was aware that you were searching for me. Thus, allow me to preemptively answer your question of, is there a way to circumvent the end?
Hell yeah!
That was exactly what we wanted to know.
In short, yes, the end can be averted. I am currently working on it, and I will share it with you when the time comes. But there is something that must be dealt with beforehand.
Hmm? What could he mean by that?
I have seen the fate line before, and it showed a certain prediction. If I were to summarize it, then a calamity will appear prior to the end of the world, bringing further suffering and despair to humanity already faced with the end. It is as indicated in the Book of Revelation. If the onset of this calamity is not halted, the plan I am currently developing to avert the end will be for naught. As for the nature of said calamity, it is this individual.
What?
Him?
Asuma Soga. He is the head researcher at the Guy Institution, in charge of the Guy QCDC and their Earth simulator, Gaia. The child will contort into a calamity. That is what the fate line foretold. And the predestined day is approximately a week from now, January 8th.
To be more specific, the moment that will prompt his transformation is immediately following the death of his mother, Miori Soga. Pollon Takaoka, I require that you protect Miori Soga and prevent Asuma Soga from becoming the prophesized calamity. You are a contactee, meaning that you possess a miraculous power that should make this possible. Good luck.
That was where the message ended. Holy shit. It took a lot to hide it, but I was so damned hyped. Sakata finally reached out to me, directly. There was something I needed to confirm first, though.
Miss Lid, are Amadeus versions of people the same as their originals?
I wouldn't say so, no. An Amadeus person diverges from their original. The memories they form after their creation are all their own.
Hold on a minute.
depends on when Kent Korihisa made his own Amadeus. But you should think of this version as a different person. If you want to know more, though, you should ask Kurisu.
Right now, it didn't matter whether Cicada 3301 was the original Kent Korihisa or an Amadeus version. The original might have been dead, but the Kent Korihisa who was coming up with the quest was still alive, which was good news for us. I didn't know why he'd gone out of his way to send me a video instead of just contacting me directly, but whatever.
You heard him, right? He said there's a way to save the world. We did it, Momo.
Momo's expression was bright, but then she slightly slapped her cheeks as if to focus.
Come a long way. From now on, we should do what Kent Korihisa tells us. Things should work out all right. I'm sure we'll accomplish our mission in time.
It kind of sounded like she was trying to convince herself. So I said,
Hell yeah, we will.
Hearing the resolve in Momo's words, I nodded. We were in the year 2038, just over a month away from the day the world was projected to end.
Now, we just have to find a way to meet up with that bowtie boy.
I really hadn't expected Cicada to bring up Asuma Soga.
This was the first time he'd been involved in all this since the day I met Momo. I honestly had no idea what Cicada meant when he said the boy would become some calamity either. Now that we had a clear goal, we were hyped to get started. But there was someone I had to talk to before meeting up with Momo and Rosario. The quantum teleporter who'd saved my ass was standing some distance from me, looking completely uninterested. When our eyes met, she let out a sigh and shrugged.
You're done talking to Kent?
Yeah.
Stepping closer to her, I almost winced. Her perfume was way too strong.
Cicada was an Amadeus, but you knew that all along, huh?
Of course. What about it?
I wish she hadn't gone out of her way to show Momo the original Kent's corpse. That was in bad taste. Then again, my loading meant that had never actually happened, so whatever.
Thanks for the help. You showing up to save me wasn't something I saw coming.
Don't mention it. But bear in mind, that wasn't for your benefit, so don't push your luck.
Sheesh.
It was Kent. He told me to save you. That was the first time he asked anything of me. The first time ever. I couldn't ignore him, could I? That request was how I knew he actually acknowledges me. Oh, that's sad. I do despise the nature of it. Having to save you was almost too much to bear. I'm sure it feels wonderful to be his favorite.
Her last sentence was dripping with contempt.
What's going on with your family anyway? How come you can use quantum teleportation? That's not normal. Is it a sacrament? Like what those Holy Office 513 asswipes use?
Don't lump me with the likes of the fanatics chasing after Kent. This is a power I obtained through Kent's research. He was also conducting research on quantum physics. He abandoned his work, but I happened to find it. I picked up where he left off. Well, it was much simpler than you'd think. It's just a matter of grasping the reality of how this world works.
I can't even imagine how you actually frickin' teleport, so yeah, I gotta admit, you're pretty impressive.
Forget about me. If you're going to praise anyone, praise Kent. Or are you stupid? I won't hesitate to kill you.
What?
She was unhinged. Suddenly her expression changed, and she smiled at me.
Oh, I have a nice idea. My name, my full name, is Juno Sayonji. Kent and I were born to different mothers. Now that you know my name, we're allies.
What kind of logic was that?
I want you to do everything you can to meet Kent's expectations. And when his hopes for you are at an all-time high, you're going to let me kill you.
Huh?
That will fill him with such despair that I may even become the subject of his hateful gaze. And he'll do more than acknowledge me if I do. He'll come to see me through a veil of even more intense emotion. And when he does, I'll kill myself. Blood will plaster the walls. All manner of awful fluids will flow from me. Such a sweet dream. The things I would do to die knowing I'd made a lasting impression on my brother. Just thinking about it sends me out of this world. A wonderful plan, isn't it?
That was terrifying. What kind of alliance was she proposing here? I knew she was bad news, but this is ridiculous.
I want nothing to do with that noise. Count me out.
What a milquetoast man you are.
Milk toast? Was that really the word for it?
In that case, don't involve yourself with Kent any longer either. You're a nuisance.
But he asked me to do something.
Oh? Is that so? Kent already asked you to do something? What was it?
She placed a hand on her exposed thigh and dug into it with her long nails. They broke the skin and drew blood.
Hey!
What was it?
What manner of nonsense?
What was it? What manner of nonsense? I'm so jealous. I think I'm gonna lose it. I see. So you're stealing him. You're going to steal Kent from me. I won't let you have him. Never! I refuse! You homewrecker!
What?
Did she just slap me?
Hey!
I glanced up to scowl at her, but she was already gone. She'd vanished in an instant. Only the faint smell of perfume lingered.
What the hell?
Talk about a one-sided conversation. Like brother, like sister.
The woman was absolutely deranged.
Huh? Hey, you...
I shall involve myself in whatever Kent has asked you to do. You've no right to refuse me. I won't let you have him all to yourself. If you do anything without me, I'll kill you, and then myself. I'm watching you, always. Every single second. I will see everything you do.
What a pain in the ass.
But she could be a big help.
Really? I seriously don't want to get involved with her any further. She's got those stalker vibes.
She's one of those little sisters who likes their brother a little too much. It's not often you get to see women like her in real life. Her love must go deep, deep like a pitch black abyss.
If Juno's Ken Korihisa's sister, how old is she now?
Kent worked at the Vatican in 2012. If he was in his 20s at the time, then Juno, she,
Well, age is just a number.
I chose not to think about it too much. A short while later, Miss Lid sent an update about the Yamadeus.
Kurisu remembered Kent Korihisa the moment I showed her the video you received. She said she'd met a guy with the same face. Back in 2012, he showed up at the Brain Science Institute where she worked. He pretended to be a researcher from some lab.
2012 was about when Kent Korihisa vanished from the Vatican.
Apparently, he he told them he heard about Amadeus and asked to be a part of the project. Kurisu could tell Kent was talented, so she considered him a promising candidate.
But it didn't work out?
Right. About a month after that, there was an incident after which he simply stopped coming to the lab.
An incident?
The Amadeus server was hacked into by an unidentified party. Even now, after more than 20 years, nobody knows who the hacker was.
Hacker, huh? All signs point to Kent, if you ask me.
There's a non-zero chance that the hacker stole data regarding the Amadeus system. A man like Kent could probably have used the data to build an Amadeus system of his own.
I guess he turned himself into an AI with Amadeus so he could get away from the Holy Office 513. And after that, he put himself into cold sleep. With all that in mind, the one behind the quest had to be the Amadeus version of Kent Korihisa from the get-go.
Did Kurisu say anything else about him?
Well, she said Kent looked like he was in constant fear. He was so conscious of people's gazes that it seemed pathological. When she first met him, she thought he was plenty suspicious. Oh, she was really mad about the Amadeus system's security breach too. From what I understand, the Amadeus system's been copied, stolen, and abused by various parties over the years. I understand how she feels, but I don't get why she had to vent so hard at me. I've never messed with her system. If she met Kent Korihisa now, she'd probably tear him a new one. She's got 25 years of pent-up anger to unload on the guy. Kurisu's one scary lady when she gets like that. She's absolutely relentless.
I had no idea Kurisu Makase had that side to her. I better keep my distance.
Both Ronin and Davide have fallen.
After hearing about what happened to the two deliberators, Felino Arcana fell to her knees where she stood. She moved, as if overcome with grief.
Lord, I pray you forgive my transgressions. The error in judgment is mine alone.
She held her hands in prayer as if to repent, and whispered as she gazed through the emptiness.
Kent and Lucia, they were once our Lord's servants. They were ones we believed to be of his blessing. In spite of that, the two now plot to rebel against fate. I believed that to protect the fate line, we were to judge the two of them in the name of our Lord. But I see now that they were mere distractions and never the true deceivers. It was Pollon Takaoka, that loathsome snake that has thwarted our mission at every turn. If he is among the contactees, then he will no doubt constitute the greatest threat to the proponents of the end. Thus, there is but one thing to be done.
Felino reached to her side, taking in hand some paper documents, a rarity in this day and age. In the first page was a photo of a certain person.
To reel in the ordained fate, we will make certain the Lord's wrath be poured from his vial onto this land.
We have breaking news. In 2029, an international agreement banned the development of quantum computer-based Earth simulator systems. But today, Yomikai Online News has revealed that the government and the Ministry of Defense have been developing such a simulator in secret.
They also added that the key member of its development is a boy only 14 years of age.
Because, you know, this is a Japanese story, and they gotta somehow rope in middle schoolers into their story. Oh, Japan.
We also know that this boy is the one who hacked the Earth simulator last year while it was still deactivated.
And the 8 to 14-year-olds have got to be the most powerful, smartest, bestest people in every single story. Either the most courageous or the most dangerous.
Multiple politicians have since questioned the ethics of the simulator, and even voiced concerns for the security of state secrets.
We are currently investigating the situation to confirm the veracity of the claims, so I would prefer not to comment on it. They may answer to me, but the Ministry of Defense employs 300 people, and it is impossible for me to know what each of them is doing. Again, we are trying to confirm this.
A crowd has gathered in front of the Prime Minister's residence to protest the top-secret development of the Earth simulator.
Earth simulators are more terrifying than nuclear weapons. If the government's making one in secret, I can't help thinking they want to wage war on the entire world.
The government broke the international agreement and developed a simulator behind closed doors. That's not right.
Wake up and smell the coffee. Every major country's doing the same thing. It wouldn't be virtuous of Japan to play along with the agreement. It'd be foolish.
Those are some serious accusations. Do you have any proof that the other countries are making simulators too?
Neither the US nor China is commenting on any of this. Their silence is proof enough.
You're forgetting the main problem. They were having a 14-year-old boy develop an Earth simulator capable of invading the privacy of everyone on the planet. And on top of that, he was virtually incarcerated at the facility where...
Oz was in his office watching the news projected onto the wall. Tonight, every news program and social media site was filled with the talk of the Gaia Institution. The Earth simulator Gaia and Asuma Soga himself, a certain news organization, had blown the lid off of all of them. They refrained from revealing Asuma's name, but he was quickly doxxed and his full name spread all over the internet. Oz was irritated, but not because he was worried about the government or the Gaia Institution. His concern was a far more pressing one.
Oz, Kaoru's here. Wow. You're actually watching news on the screen again. Just use BMI.
Shut up.
Kaoru entered the office. There was obvious fatigue on his face.
I must apologize. I'm late.
Go to bed, Nano.
Huh? But I don't wanna. No, San Marino.
Then just go to your room.
You meanie.
Oz watched Nono leave, then walked over to Kaoru.
You seen the news? Don't answer that, I can tell by looking at you.
Yes, I'm aware of what's happening.
Then tell me, what the hell's happening? All this mania has come from info that we gathered. It's not just a big deal on social media sites. Mainstream media is using the scoop as a way to bash the government. Was Kaburagi the one who leaked it all? This ain't the right way to go about.
Kaburagi was murdered.
What?
He was missing for a few days, but I just received a report that his body was found at the Yokohama dock early this morning.
What?
It'll probably be reported tomorrow morning.
Kaburagi was a passionate and just man. Oz had met him through Kaoru, and they spoke enough for Oz to know what Kaburagi was like. It was hard to believe that that was how he'd met his end.
The murderer hasn't been caught yet, but it's safe to assume that they were behind the leak.
What do you think they're planning here?
I don't know, but...
But?
The public hasn't been reacting well to the news. At all. Honestly, I'm surprised the reaction's been so intense. At any rate, the government's desperately trying to de-escalate the situation. The SFG is currently guarding the Gaia Institution, but it's likely that they will receive new orders soon.
Wait. You're gonna cut off the brat?
Kaoru nodded.
I can't believe the information we found is being used like this. And with Kaburagi gone, there's nobody who can stop this now.
The two fell silent. Images of the news continued playing across the wall. They showed the mass media and the public attacking the government hysterically.
Oh, damn, it's cold.
In the end, we barely made it in time. A week had passed since Sakata, Kent Korihisa, sent me his request. We hadn't been able to do anything because we didn't know where Asuma Soga's mom was. Asuma had hidden every single trace of information on Myriad Soga. Nakano Symphonies worked on it every day, but even with Wind, Oz, and the CCO helping, it took a whole week of sleuthing to get anywhere. The answer was right under our noses. We confirmed that she was being held somewhere inside the Gaia institution, and that was only an hour ago. It was late, but I jumped on my graper and came all the way. From here, I could see Uminomori, home of the Gaia institution. We had to get inside and make sure that Asuma's mom was still alive. Our best bet was to find Asuma and ask him to help us find his mom, but we couldn't be sure he'd actually cooperate. The mission might turn out tougher than any quest.
Rosario, did you find anything about the Holy Office's next move?
Rosario had mentioned that they were probably involved. I had a feeling they'd get in our way too. Those guys never knew when to quit.
I was able to confirm that they were controlling the media. It's common for them to use news outlets to further their agendas.
People were talking about Gaia and Gaia all over the mainstream and social media. So this was all the Holy Office is doing.
I guess we gotta hurry.
I'll let you know as soon as I learn more.
Be safe, Rosario.
I will. You take care of yourselves too.
Momo and I were going to be infiltrating Gaia. Rosario was handling something else alone. Okay, well, why don't we stop it there? This is Autopostrophe. You've been watching Anonymous Code running on Nintendo Switch. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.